Have you seen Stefon Diggs has been traded?
I just was informed by you that that Mr. Diggs is no longer a Buffalo Bill and that he's a Houston Texan. And I'll tell you, my first thought before even knowing what the what the transaction includes is that, man, the Houston Texans are building a very good football team.
Yeah, they are.
And they're coming. I mean, they are absolutely coming as a football team. I mean, if you think about the Texans and CJ Stroud and all the talent that they've been able to accumulate, and then they added Joe Mixon at running back. They added a lot to their defense, including Danielle Hunter, Danico Autry,
Right. 3
Folorunso
D tackles,
Fadakazi,
3 corners, Danielle Hunter, Mixon, Diggs, adding to a Nico Collins, Tank Dell offense with CJ Stroud. Yeah, Texans just got really interesting, didn't they?
12 free agents they've signed on the defensive side alone. And now they've added Stefon Diggs to go with Joe Mixon. And if you look at it, CJ Stroud now has Mixon in the backfield, Dalton Schultz at tight end. He has Tank Dell, Stefon Diggs, and Nico Collins at wide receiver. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. He's got Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. I mean, they've got
Schultz is their tight end, pretty damn good, right?
They've got a hell of a team. I mean, those 3 receivers are terrific. Then they've also got John Mechie, they've got Robert Woods, they've got Xavier Hutchinson. I mean, they've got some talent there, some real talent. So Houston is coming. If I was Kansas City, if I was Baltimore, if I was one of these AFC powers, I'd keep a real close eye on the Texans and even the Niners. I mean, I think the Texans are building a bully. Azeez Al-Shaair, Danielle Hunter on the defensive front. A bunch of guys on the back end. Yeah, they're coming, man. They're absolutely coming. What were the details of the trade?
Well, here's the thing. Any and all, talk of anything that the 49ers might do, it all goes back and links directly to what happens with Brandon Aiyuk. When you look at this Stefon Diggs transaction, maybe it illuminates what the 49ers can really expect if they do try to trade Brandon Aiyuk. So the Bills are sending 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Stefon Diggs to the Houston Texans for draft pick compensation. Along with Diggs, the Texans get a 2024 6th rounder and a 2025 5th rounder. The Buffalo Bills, they get back a 2025 2nd rounder. So it's
not even a pick this year,
a future 2nd rounder.
Wow.
And they had to put change in to get Diggs moved to Houston as well. So what that does to the Brandon Aiyuk value, I don't know. Here's what Brandon Aiyuk has over Stefon Diggs. He's 4 years younger than Diggs. Diggs is the better decorated, better, more produced player about to cross a 10,000-yard career receiving threshold. I mean, Diggs is a real good wide receiver. And I don't know if Brandon Aiyuk is quite that. So as the 49ers are thinking, what are we going to do? Are we going to pay this guy $28-30 million to come back? Or are we seriously going to try to get some value for him? The value that you thought you might get for him, I think just went down a little bit, Larry. If Stefon Diggs isn't getting you a number 1 in this year's draft, I don't see Brandon Aiyuk doing that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and yet Aiyuk is an all-pro receiver. He means a lot. It's really hard to put your hands around the value of receivers in today's NFL game. You've got teams that don't want to pay them, then you have teams that are trading for them. I don't know what to say. Every year, I mean, look at the free agents that are still available. I mean, there was a rumor yesterday that we'll get to later about Tyler Boyd to the Niners. There's a lot of good receivers still available in free agency. It's a loaded free agent draft. It's a loaded wide receiver draft, I should say, and there's a loaded wide receiver group in free agency. So, I mean, there's a lot of inventory out there, and yet, there's always going to be a market for the top guys. Aiyuk is one of the top guys, but yeah, what's the value? Does that mean that the Niners can't get a first? Does that mean that the Niners, I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of different ways to play your hand. I was looking at it yesterday, thinking about Tyler Boyd, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, if you took out Aiyuk and you put in Tyler Boyd, and you got a draft pick that you liked for Aiyuk, and you could turn Aiyuk into either an offensive lineman or another wide receiver that you liked. Is Xavier Leggett from South Carolina, who, big, strong, powerful, fast, and Tyler Boyd equal one Brandon Aiyuk? And then it also kind of made me think, man, the Niners situation, you're going to be paying your quarterback 50 times what you paid over 50 times maybe what you paid your quarterback this year. And that means that there's going to have to be some serious bloodletting, and it's going to be painful. So maybe this idea of we're having this back and forth debate this entire offseason, Debo or Aiyuk or Debo. Is it possible the answer is both? Is it possible that they part ways from Aiyuk right here in the draft and then part ways with Debo next offseason and try to go cheaper at wide receiver? It seems like that might be the way to go when you look at the inventory coming out of college and in the free agent market.
But it's tough to serve two masters. And you can either go all in on 2024, or you can start making, like you're suggesting, Larry, the moves that are down the chessboard, where you're thinking 2 moves down the road, 2 seasons down the road, more than just this 1 year. And I just think that the 49ers got to be focused on 2024, with 2025 and everything after that kind of in the bedamned category. Like, this is it. Like, the new reality of the math that's coming at you is going to come whether you put it off or you don't. So I think you just got to function under 2024, and the luck that you still have with Brock Purdy being on such a rookie deal, and you act accordingly, and you don't deal with 2025 until it gets here, because it's now or never. I mean, with this group as it is built, here it is. This is the last shot. This is the best last shot under this math that the 49ers get at winning a Super Bowl. After that, you are so back to the drawing board. If you're even thinking of flushing 2 wide receivers, you're right back to the starting of the, you're installing a new offense basically, because Shanahan is brutal on his rookie wide receivers. So
I hear you, but you're paying your quarterback next year 50 times what you're paying him right now. So most likely, if you got to come up with 50, let's say roughly $45 million of cap savings, who are you going to pull? And it's not going to be Trent. So Armstead's gone. He made 17.4 base, I believe. So he's gone. You're going to have to be real creative. It's not going to be Bosa. It's not going to be McCaffrey. Fred Warner, Kittle, Greenlaw. I mean, Greenlaw's hurt right
look
now.
At it this way, all names that you'd think would be on the untouchable list become touchable in 2025.
Well, I just think that if you look at it, if you really look at their names of guys who make big money, and do you want to do this all in 1 year? Do you want to try to? I don't know that they want to take years off. I don't know that they want to just drive the thing off the cliff. They may want to try to do this over a 2-year period. But Trent, these are the guys who make the big cake. Trent, Debo, Armstead, who's gone, Ward, Bosa, McCaffrey, Aiyuk, Warner, Kittle. Those guys are the guys who make the big money for the most part. Those guys all make, over a cap hit of over 10 million.
Right.
Give me 2 of those guys. You are outside of Armstead, who's 1. Give me 2 more guys on that list that you feel like you can do without. And I think most people would look at that and say, well, man, that's tough. Kittle, Warner, McCaffrey, Mooney, Trent. I think it's the wide receivers. As much as I like Debo, as much as I like Aiyuk, I think it's the wide receivers. I think if they wanted to, they could figure out the wide receiver game without their 2-star wide receivers and not be crushed by it.
Well, I mean, we're right back to the oldest concept in the book, that football's blocking and tackling and everything else just sells tickets. By saying everything else just sells tickets, you're basically saying, well, that's easier to reproduce, right? It's easier to reproduce a great wide receiver than it is a great offensive or defensive lineman. And the 49ers have had an awful lot of success, becoming a dominant team on the line of scrimmage and then figuring it out everywhere else. And maybe they can do that. And maybe Brock Purdy turning into that guy that is worthy of a $45 million a year contract or whatever he's going to get paid is the difference there. When you have a quarterback that is worth that level of money, by definition, he's supposed to make, normal wide receivers a little touch better than normal wide receivers. So an awful lot of this pressure is going to come down on Brock to live up to the new contract once he finally gets it installed. But then can he? Can he actually do it? Is Brock Purdy the kind of guy who's going to make everyone around him? Or has there been a little bit of an illusion where the talent of the 49ers are making us think Brock is more than he really is? And now we're back to the debate that we were having at the beginning of last season, and who to trust and what do we believe and who's really responsible for whose success. And it just, the carousel never stops, Larry.
Well, I think I think it's false to say that that quarterbacks make the weapons. I think you have to have real weapons. But my point is, you might be able to find weapons that are similar to what you have in the draft if you draft well, or in free agency if you sign well. Even at this point, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. Was Tyler Boyd flirtation about Juwan Jennings because they both play the slot receiver? I don't know. But the way I look at it, I think that the talk about Aiyuk staying is more about, hey, we love the player, and we're just going to keep saying we love the player. And there's no advantage in saying that they don't love the player. And also,
when you love the player, they should,
and they should, and they do. And also, if you're really trying to get a first round pick out of somebody, the last thing you want to say is, yeah, we're looking to move them. We don't love them. They love, they're stating their love for Aiyuk. But I think it's going to lead to a draft day trade unless they get absolutely no good offers. And for a receiver like Aiyuk, I think they probably will get, a mid first to a late first round pick offer, even if, because he represents a guy whose best years are still ahead of him, who does all the things right. He blocks downfield. He's a team guy. He shows up to win. He's got a body that's going to play for the next 3, 4, 5 years. I think that you said what's going on here. I think they're going to move their receivers. I think they're going to move Aiyuk this year, and I think there's a good chance they move off of Debo next year.